You do not begin with a seat in Parliament. You begin at a kitchen table, looking at everything that frustrates you about the country and wondering whether complaining is still enough. Your first political meeting is not inside Westminster. It is in a drafty community hall where 10 people debate potholes, bus routes, and who remembered to bring the biscuits. Before anyone trusts you to represent them, you spend months listening. Residents rarely speak in policy language. They talk about rent, schools, crime, care, and whether anyone is paying attention. Eventually, you ask your local party to select you as its candidate. It feels less like a coronation and more like the most uncomfortable job interview of your life. You explain why you should be trusted with the candidacy. Every promise suddenly feels heavier when real people are sitting in front of you, waiting to decide whether they believe you. Then your name is announced. For a few seconds, the room applauds. After that comes the realization. You are now responsible for turning belief into votes. Your campaign headquarters is usually not impressive. It is a borrowed room filled with maps, volunteer rotas, cheap food, and far more optimism than money. Then you knock on your first door. You rehearse your introduction, the door opens, and the resident immediately tells you everything your campaign has misunderstood. Many doors close before you finish speaking. Some people disagree with your party. Others distrust every politician. A few simply do not want you interrupting their dinner. Eventually, someone unloads years of anger directly onto you. You learn that standing for office means becoming the nearest available target for decisions you did not make. Then one conversation changes the campaign. A parent describes a child waiting for support that never arrived. The issue stops being a statistic and becomes a person. Days become a repetition of doors, phone calls, community meetings, and wet leaflets. Your feet ache, your voice disappears. Tomorrow you start again. At the candidates' debate, every answer must be clear, honest, and short. Your opponents are waiting for weakness. The audience is waiting for something real. One poorly worded answer is clipped, reposted, and stripped of context. By morning, strangers who have never met you are certain they know exactly who you are. You can blame the edit, attack the critics, or admit that your words were clumsy. Politics teaches you that an apology only matters when it costs you pride. Polling day begins before sunrise. You visit volunteers, encourage supporters, and avoid predicting the result. Every confident smile hides the same fear. What if it was not enough? That night, ballot papers are counted under bright lights. Weeks of work are reduced to neat piles while candidates pretend not to stare at every movement. Your name is read aloud. You have won. The applause is immediate, but so is the weight of knowing that thousands of people have trusted you with their voice. By morning, your photograph is everywhere. You have barely slept, your phone will not stop ringing, and everyone already wants to know what you will deliver first. Then you arrive at Westminster. The building is historic, confusing, and much larger than it appears on television. You are an elected representative who cannot find the correct corridor. Before you can properly begin, you take the oath or affirmation. It is a brief ceremony, but it marks the moment the campaign ends and the constitutional responsibility begins. An MP does not work alone. You hire staff to manage correspondence, research policy, organize meetings, and help residents navigate problems that have often lasted for years. At your first constituency surgery, residents arrive carrying letters, evidence, and sometimes their last remaining hope. You quickly discover that listening is easier than fixing. One case becomes 20. Housing, benefits, immigration, healthcare, and special education arrive together. Every file belongs to someone who thinks their situation cannot wait. A family is days away from losing its home. You cannot order the council to fix everything, but your intervention may force the right people to look again. The eviction is paused while the case is reviewed. It is not a new law or a famous speech. It is simply one family receiving enough time to breathe. Eventually, you rise to make your first common speech. You speak about your constituency, its people, and the promises that now sound far more complicated than they did during the campaign. Television makes every debate look crowded. In reality, you may deliver an important speech to rows of empty benches, hoping the official record matters even when the cameras do not. Committee work is quieter, but often more revealing. You question officials and experts, searching for the gap between what a policy promised and what it actually delivered. Then comes a vote your party considers essential. The instruction is clear. The problem is that many people back home want you to vote the other way. You enter the voting lobby knowing that whichever choice you make, someone will call it betrayal. Representation rarely offers a decision that leaves everyone satisfied. By morning, your inbox is full. Some accuse you of abandoning your principles. Others accuse you of ignoring the constituency. Both sides believe the answer was obvious. At the most theatrical moment of the week, the chamber erupts. Cheers, jeers, and rehearsed lines fill the room. You realize that performance and scrutiny can occupy the same space. Seconds after leaving the chamber, a reporter asks for your reaction. You have one sentence to explain a complicated issue before the audience moves on. You speak for 5 minutes. The headline uses 6 words. Sometimes they are fair, sometimes they are not. Either way, they travel further than the explanation. At the end of the parliamentary week, you return to the constituency. Westminster feels distant until the first resident reminds you that the decisions made there followed you home. A proposed development has divided the town. Half the room demands jobs and investment. The other half believes the community they know is about to disappear. Then politics is interrupted by reality. Heavy rain floods part of the constituency, and nobody cares about speeches. They want sandbags, shelter, and answers. The cameras stay for a day. The damage lasts for months. Your office continues chasing insurers, agencies, and repairs long after the story stops trending. Public visibility has another cost. An angry message crosses the line from criticism into threat, and security becomes part of a job built around meeting strangers. The job follows you home through late votes, weekend events, and constant messages. The people closest to you learn that public service can consume private time without asking permission. Eventually, you ask whether the job is changing anything or merely changing you. The compromises, criticism, and constant urgency begin to blur the reasons you started. Then an issue you have pursued for years finally reaches the chamber. It is smaller than your original ambition and changed by compromise, but it could still improve real lives. Months later, you visit a local service changed by that work. Nobody there knows every meeting or concession behind it. They only know that help now arrives sooner. One day, another election will decide whether you return. The seat was never yours. It belonged to the public, temporarily entrusted to you. The question is what you did while carrying it.